Hi, my name is Robbie Henry. We're Robbie Henry Sheetrock and Renovations. Today we're going to show you sheetrock basics. Today we're going to explain to you about storm damage, of flooding coming in, of where to cut your sheetrock at, and how to replace. And we also going to show you of water spot damage from rainwater, of how to cut it out, replace, and get ready for texture and taping and floating and skimming. Now we're going to show you how to remove the sheetrock from the damaged area from the flood water coming up. As we said before, 2 foot up, even though it floods there, we want to cut out to 4 foot. So the first thing you would do on here is not measure from the floor, you would measure from the top corner of the ceiling. And you would come down to 48 inches. Mark here, come further here, and mark the full 48 inches. If you have a longer wall, you got to keep going as you're going to get the 4 foot. On a longer wall, you also want to take this device, which is a string line. If you got a 12-foot wall, you want to take this, put a screw in here of the stud, wrap it in, or if you have somebody to help you hold this, you can have them hold it on the 48-inch mark. Run it across like this. Have it on the 48-inch mark from the ceiling and pop your line. This is the isolating tool. It is easier to cut on the straight line and run a straight line here of following the line that you already marked. If you do not have one of these isolating tools, you can use your standard razor knife to run here and cut all the sheetrock down to be able to remove the sheetrock. When making the cut with the isolating tool, you always want to take the vacuum cleaner, place it underneath the blade before you start cutting. Turn your vacuum on, and as you cutting, this will suck all the debris out of the sheetrock, which creates a lot of fine particles of dust. If you don't have an isolating tool and all you have is a standard razor knife, you can also cut through here like this. You want to scar the sheetrock softly first, right on that line. Don't try to dig in as hard as you can as soon as you start cutting. Cut one light line, push in a little bit more, and score it more. You will not be all the way through on the first cut. As you keep on cutting, continue pushing in harder, you will get further and further into the sheetrock. The harder you try to do it on the first cut, the more wiggly you will get and not make a straight cut. On that 4th one, we push in a little harder to start removing the sheetrock. So now we know that this sheetrock is 100% through because of the razor knife all the way in. As you'll be hitting a stud there, we pull out and come back in. When you're removing this, 9 times out of 10, it'll probably be wet. It is easier to remove while it's wet and just de-screw or de-nail all the sheetrock at one time. Sheetrock is not soaking wet and has dried out a little bit, but still has to remove. You can find sheetrock screws. If you can find the area, which is normally 16 cents on a normal house, you will remove screws. And find 16 center. If you also want to remove sheetrock without trying to find every single screw and screw them, you can start by hammering a little hole in here. Now that you done cut this, it's not connected anymore. You will put a little hole in here and you will start, don't start automatically pulling as hard as you can on the sheetrock. You will want to grab the sheetrock and shake a little bit where you get bigger pieces to come off instead of little bitty pieces. Once you have that all off and you shake as a little bit at a time, then you can remove all screws from the wall before you hang your new sheetrock on there. Now we're going to show you how to cut out rainwater damage from a wall, or this could be shown as in a ceiling also from studs. You will have to find your stud. You can find it with a stud finder, or you can take your drill. You can take it and find a stud. If you hit the stud, like we did there, you want to take your tape measure, measure from that screw onto here and put you a mark. Double check, make sure you do have a stud there. Put the screw in, screw got hit on the stud. So we know we have a stud there, which is 16 center. Again, we will be 16 inches, 16 center. This would be my ceiling. I'm 15 and a quarter. I would come here and do 15 and a quarter. After you have these two marked out, and this is your damaged area, you want to come in from this sheetrock screw, and if you have damaged 10 inches, cut out 12 inches. You do 15 and a quarter here, grab it on stud. Next step will be 12 inches down, as we did on that one. So now we have the damaged sheetrock here, which we're gonna say is a 10 by 10 area. To cut out patch, you wanna mark your chalk line on this screw and on here. Pop your square. Once you have your square marked out, you want to remove all 4 screws that you have put in the wall to get your square. We would cut the wall with our isolating tool and our vacuum. You would do this with any repair. Making the cut with the isolating tool, you always want to take the vacuum cleaner, place it underneath the blade before you start cutting. Turn your vacuum on, and as you cutting, this will suck all the debris out of the sheetrock, which creates a lot of fine particles of dust. If you don't have an isolating tool, you can use a standard razor knife. As you're cutting down, you will have a stud behind there. You press on lightly the first couple of cuts, and as you protrude through, you will feel the stud in the knife, and then your sheetrock will be cut fully through. Once you have your cut out, the sheetrock that you will be removing can possibly still have screws in the studs of where you need to take them out. If you can find them, remove them. If not, punch out patch and then rescrew them after. If this is damaged and has a hole in it, etc., you can get your hand in there to remove this piece of sheetrock. If not, and it's just a water damage, it's still a solid piece of sheetrock, you can use your standard razor knife to remove the sheetrock that is damaged. As we have our hole cut out, I will install 2x4 or 1x4 backer boards where they don't have a stud sideways to sideways. Leave half the board sticking up and half the board sticking down in the sheetrock and screw it in to the normal areas of where you don't have a stud at. When measuring, we want to measure across. If we have 15 and a quarter, we try to leave a little gap that way we're not squeezing the sheetrock in the area and have more play for wiggle room. After doing so, screw sheetrock where the old sheetrock was already originally at, and then screw sheetrock in the new areas of where you just put the studs at and the extra studs on the top and the bottom. I install screws on the old sheetrock and the new sheetrock. That way they are secure to each other so we don't have cracks later on down the road and have movement if anybody runs into it, etc. Do this same step around the entire patch. That way we have it secured. Working with sheetrock can seem very intimidating, but if you follow the steps on this video, it can make life a lot easier when doing it. I hope this information was helpful. My name is Robbie Henry, and thanks for watching.